Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to crash out with the Daily Dose show.
If you weren't here 2 weeks ago, you saw the crash out probably after it happened. We were able to cool our tempers a little bit after that one, but this one's fresh. This one's fresh.
Dom, obviously, before we get into the crash out, how was your weekend? How have you been since the last episode of the Daily Dose? How are you feeling, man? What's going on? You good?
Alex, I'm feeling great, man. Doing
Good.
great. Had a great
Good.
weekend. Got a lot of stuff done.
Good.
Great day of
Yes.
football yesterday. Great day of football today. Of course, the Guardians. We'll get into that a little bit later. They had a
Yes.
great weekend. So,
Absolutely.
you know what? I couldn't have asked for a better weekend. How was your weekend, Alex?
Oh, it was the weekend, man. I can't complain. I had a good weekend. Got a lot done, like you said. Felt productive this weekend, but also got to sit back and relax and enjoy some football on Sunday. Some football I didn't want to see, and some other very interesting football. But it definitely hurt watching Malik Neighbors tear up the Browns and do it on my fantasy bench this week. But yeah, it was a great weekend of it was a great Sunday of sports, of football.
Good.
We're not done yet. Obviously, we got the Falcons versus the Chiefs tonight, Sunday night football, and then we got two more
Mm-hmm.
games on Monday. But this first slate of games, Sunday, the 1 o'clock, the 4 o'clock, a lot of results that you didn't expect to see. It was definitely a crazy one. One being our own hometown Browns that apparently went from never losing at home to they can't show up at home. So that's
Yep.
good. That's good. I'm glad that this is where we stand with the
Right.
team.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's just officially time.
It's been an interesting day so far. I will say. Like I said, we both had great weekends. I had a great weekend. Glad you had a great weekend,
I hope
Alex.
everybody in
Always
here. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope
right. We're
everybody had a
always
great
locked in.
weekend. We're
Yep.
locked in at all times.
I
Uh,
do want to say one thing.
Go
You
ahead.
mentioned Malik. You mentioned Malik Neighbors' touchdown. I had a dream. I had a dream.
All right, Martin Luther King.
One of these days, I think it was Tuesday. I had a dream that Malik Neighbors scored a touchdown against the Browns, and I all week was sitting there thinking, Giants are so garbage. All they do is kick field goals. There's no way our defense is going to
That's
let them score that many points. Malik Neighbors had 2 touchdowns today. I could have put down $5. I could have put down $10. I could have put down $20. $5 would have won me $100 right there, Alex.
yeah. I mean, it's. Listen. It's a team when you sit there. The defense really gave up 2 touchdowns, and the other one was just terrible field position.
Terrible.
But yeah, I mean the defense, as much as the offense didn't look great, the defense looked just as bad in the first
Mm-hmm.
half. Now the second half was a completely different ball game. The defense gave the Browns 6 opportunities to go and win the game, but the defense looked terrible in the first half. I mean, they let Daniel Jones and this team run the ball down their throats, throw quick passes down their throats, and it seems that the Browns, what I've realized is they're trying to now play these zones, and teams are and the thing about it is that the Browns have 3 corners that actually all are not that good in zone coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, you kind of get a recipe of 10-yard pass, 12-yard, 8-yard, 6-yard. I mean, they just looked disoriented. They weren't ready for running back screens. They weren't ready for anything.
No.
Martin Emerson got destroyed. I mean, broken apart by Malik Neighbors in the first half. Finally, in the second half, they switched him off, and everything kind of went to normal. And
Emerson Island or Epstein Island? I can't tell the difference.
I think the first problem was putting Emerson on Malik Neighbors in general. Emerson works better against a player like in the sorts of DK Metcalf and a bigger player, someone that he can kind of be more physical with, get up on. Malik Neighbors is just a small, shifty, dude that can
Technician,
also get up.
route runner.
Like, yeah, and so it just Martin Emerson on the one touchdown looked like he just gave up on the route because he just got beat. He just simply got beat. That's where you need someone like Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome, someone a little bit more slim, smaller, a little bit more athletic that can kind of keep on Neighbors. And they did. They switched him off in the second half, and it worked out well. But yeah, I mean, the Browns need to. This is and like we just said off air right before this show, the Browns. This is the first game where you can't really blame it on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson did not lose you this game. If anything, he gave you more opportunities to win the game than he did to lose you the game.
100%.
Yes, he had the fumble that was definitely 100%, 85% his fault.
Mm-hmm.
But it stemmed from just terrible play calling and play design from the intro. You couldn't you got not only did the offensive line look better last week, but you got a whole nother healthy offensive lineman this week, and they looked worse.
He looked worse.
They
100%.
looked 10 times worse. Now this is a team that's been begging for Brian Burns and Thibodeau, all these players to get active, and they did. Now every single one of them got active because Deshaun Watson by halftime was sacked 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Pressured probably 90% of his snaps, and mix it in with terrible play calling, bad route running, and Amari Cooper being what looked like the only goddamn hope on the team. I mean, I looked at it, and finally, at some point in time, the announcers during the game even showed the whole field view to just remind the fans that Deshaun Watson has nowhere to fucking throw the ball. They're like, hey, I know you guys are probably mad at Deshaun, but like, look at what he's looking at. And he has 2 seconds to throw the ball before someone's in his face, and he's looking out at the field, and there's nobody. And so in the second half, you saw a lot more of him being just decisive on just running the ball a lot more. And obviously the Browns finally made adjustments and got some players open on quick routes instead of everybody running down the field like a bunch of retards. So, I mean, the second half was a little bit better. Obviously, Jerome Ford needs to never do that again because that genuinely, I think, lost us the game. I know we had another chance, and Tillman had a decent game until he dropped what would have been another
unbelievable drop.
Would have been another time that we could have went down the field and scored to win the game because we were only down by 6 points.
Unacceptable.
So, I mean, genuinely, Deshaun Watson, 21 of 37, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. If you think about the fact that he was sacked 4 times by halftime, you had at minimum 1 drop that was blatant, but I'm pretty sure Akins had a drop as well that was on the numbers. So you had 2, and they both were on 3rd down and 4th down. So you had 2 complete just drive-stopping drops. You had penalties again, which, by the way, I will say the penalties were 20 times better this game than they were last game. I don't think there was a holding call on the Browns all game. Now, I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure there was not one holding call, which is bravo for at least fixing that. But the play calling looked fucking bad. I mean, bad.
It was bad. It was really bad.
Throughout a lot of the game, they finally established the run in the second half, which ended up being the only reason that they really did anything besides Amari Cooper, which he's back. Thank fucking God. Whoever had Amari Cooper and started him off a hunch, congratulations.
I had him. I started him regardless of my hunch. He had 12 targets, 7 receptions, 86 yards, 2 TDs.
Yep.
That was perfect. That was the kind of performance you wanted to see out of him. Someone who I think everyone expected to have a little bit of a bigger role in today's game was Jerry Jeudy. Of course, he had 7 targets, 4 receptions for 27 yards. Not very much, and outside of that, really nothing too crazy. Jerome Ford was the second highest receiving player for the Browns today.
Well,
he had
that's because they had a
four
couple
targets on
successful
3
screens.
receptions.
Yeah,
I know,
they had a couple
I know.
successful screens.
And
And
speaking of Jerome Ford, he had 10 rushing attempts for 37 yards,
yep.
and outside of that, Watson was the second other leading rusher. Foreman had 2 carries for 5 yards, which is where is he at? Why are you
Well,
not
that's the
using
problem. They're not.
Foreman's clearly not the
They're
number one back.
literally their first drive of the game after the first, like after they scored. Their second first drive of the game was pass, pass, pass. Incomplete, incomplete, incomplete. I mean, there might have been a catch for a couple yards. 4 and out. So you're telling me that you're up 7-0 with the ball after you just got a 4 and out. And your first thing is let's just throw the ball. Let's just throw it. Let's not they never slowed things down to run the ball, because then after that the game was tied and they were constantly like, "Oh, we're back in a battle again." And and it was everything. The line they couldn't pass the ball short nor far. So they literally were just pressing them, knowing that they had to get some kind of momentum, and they couldn't because they were blitzing 5 or 6 almost every play, and the Browns weren't ready for it until the second half. They actually looked better after losing 3 of their offensive linemen than they did when they had all 3 of them. DeJuan Jones looks awful. All of a sudden, DeJuan Jones can't cover anybody on the edge. I mean, he's just letting people go.
It's unbelievable.
I genuinely, because I mean, yeah, Ford 10 attempts, which for the number 1 back is terrible. 37 yards, which is even fucking worse.
Not to mention the time of possession between the two teams. Giants held the ball for 33 minutes, almost 34, and we had the ball for 33 minutes. We had it 26 minutes. So the Giants outgained us all day. They had 340 on the ground, or 120 on the ground, and 340 in total. We didn't even sniff those numbers. We weren't even close.
There was one drive that just showed that we got dominated, and it was the second scoring drive for New York, the one right before halftime that Malik Neighbors scored on. That was 93 yards and took, I believe, like 9 to 12 minutes or something stupid. That's when I knew we were cooked, because it was just 6 yards, 7 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 3, 2,
sack. You got to throw all the sacks in there.
What?
On when we were on offense. I mean, they had
offense,
7 or 8.
When we're on defense.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying when I knew we were defeated on defense in the first half. Because the punt was great. We had every option to just keep it a 7-7 game, get the ball back, to score before half, and then get the ball back. And they just it's crazy because obviously the first drive of the game against this week isn't very good to look at, because it was an 11-second drive and it was a 1 throw to Amari Cooper. But the Browns look more electric on the first drive of the second half and the first half, and then they just fall off a cliff. Like they go from like in Jacksonville, their first drive was awesome, and then the second, third, and fourth drive fucking sucked. They got 3 points, and it's like, what are we, like? How do we just fall off a cliff? How do we go like from knowing and breaking the offense and going against the scheme to all of a sudden the next drive we're just literally like, oh, this is what they're doing? Let's feed into what they're doing by running every play that will just get dominated. They were trying these long run plays that worked against Jacksonville that weren't working against New York because the line was getting destroyed. So instead of doing quick runs to try to beat the blitz, they're doing long runs that get stuffed by the blitz, and then they're wondering to themselves, why can't we run the football? And maybe we should just pass. They didn't figure it out until the second half when they actually started opening up the defense a little bit by running the football for 5+ yards and getting quick passes. I feel like the Browns in the first half just like they were scared to just gain 5 yards on a tight end little hitch route. Or
Right.
Jerry Jeudy scored a touchdown on a 5-yard hitch out, a 5-yard out. It's simple. He was wide open. There was no way he was going to get stopped from running that route correctly and scoring. So it's like they run all these plays in the second half when they're getting destroyed, and you're like, wow, where was this in the first half? And it's like, yeah, why is Amari Cooper not completing a 6-yard slant route in the first half? Why is that not happening? It should happen like clockwork. Jerry Jeudy, like Amari Cooper is getting all these deep routes, and I get it, he's still a GOAT and he should still get some. But where are the deep routes to Jerry Jeudy? The dude is taller, younger, and can probably jump higher and has hands. Why are they not throwing the ball to him? Like, he gets no accurate deep balls. Every deep ball that goes to him is 80 feet over his head or 90 yards out of bounds. Like, there's just, like, he either gets the ball a lot, which he did against Jacksonville, and that was great and all, and, like, I'm glad. But it was because of Amari Cooper. Like, they have there's no distribution. Elijah Moore didn't even sniff the ball this week, except maybe once. He's like the most open route runner we've had all year, and you're telling me that we can't get him open for 5 yards? What are we doing? They're rushing 6. That means that they are willingly giving up 1 to 2 players that should be dropping back. That means you should have gaps somewhere. And how are we not I have so many questions. Obviously, the viewers, you guys can see, these are the standings right now. I could update the Ravens. Obviously, they did. I believe they came up with the win, right? I saw that game got really close and scary.
Yeah, no, they ended up winning that one.
Okay, I can fix the standings. The Ravens are 1-2. The Browns are 1-2. The Steelers remain 3-0 after winning. They shouldn't have won, but Justin Herbert unfortunately goes out with an injury in the middle of the game. They get the backup, and it kind of went downhill from there. The Bengals obviously do not play until tomorrow against the Commanders. You should hope that after a very close game to the reigning Super Bowl champs that the Cincinnati Bengals can dominate against the rookie quarterback. But knowing this week and the fact that the Panthers won, and I mean, that's just big enough. The Giants won, the Panthers won. Who else won?
Like underdog teams.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Broncos beat the Buccaneers. Vikings beat the Texans.
Yep. I mean, it was a game. It was a week of upsets, and we are upset because
we are
the Browns fell on the opposite side of the upset spectrum.
And all my parlays didn't cash.
Nope. A game that should have 1,000% been won by the Cleveland Browns falls unbelievably short in a game that this whole year we said, oh, it relies on Watson, it relies on Watson, it relies on Watson. We have Watson. He's sitting here throwing for almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns in a game that we said he needed to throw touchdowns. He does. It's not enough, and it's not enough because there was just no run game. There was very terrible play calling in the first half. Terrible offensive line play through at least the first 3 quarters, and a game where the defense, unfortunately, I mean, if you realistically think about it, they gave up like 14 points. I'll give it 17 because they should have held them to a field goal, but they didn't. But it was bad field position. The defense didn't look sharp in the first half specifically, allowing 2 just crazy methodical drives by the Giants. And the offense just couldn't do anything to give the defense any kind of momentum. I mean, putting them on the field quickly again and again and again and again after all these 4 and outs after the first touchdown score on what I mean, the first 2 drives, because the first one was the fumble, the Browns scored, and then the next one was the interception that gets called back, and then a touchdown that, I mean, that's a 7-point swing. The Browns very easily could have been looking at 14-0 off 2 turnovers.
Yep.
Instead, are looking at 7-7, and they spiraled out of control. I really think that Kevin Stefanski needs to look at maybe relinquishing the play calling to Dorsey.
It's not like you can't take it back. Go with Dorsey and see what Dorsey can at least do for your team and see what he can get cooking. And if he's no better, take the play calling right back. Because you got to fire him.
Right now, they have too many problems around the team that it feels like the head coach needs to start doing head coaching jobs, which is making sure his entire team is disciplined, not the offense. Because
it shouldn't be rocket science, really.
No, it shouldn't. And I don't know. I mean, I sit here and I wonder. I obviously listen. I know Conklin should be back next week. Njoku should also look to return next week. Those 2 in and of itself should be a big help to this line. Amari Cooper's back. Jerry Jeudy still looks solid for what he's getting.
Coop might be questionable with a concussion, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Tillman, obviously he had a couple of nice plays today. I had the one drop that's, you hope a turning moment for him in the season, maybe a moment you can look at as him kind of locking in for the rest of the year, because he's a big part of this. Elijah Moore, obviously, I don't even know what to say about him besides he's just truly been underrated ever since he got here, and I feel like that's the story of his career. Someone who doesn't get a lot of the looks, but when he does, he always just seems to be open, and so...
Yeah, it was a poor performance for the Browns today. All 3 assets, all 3 facets, I should say, of the team.
Missed field goal.
Defense wasn't horrible. Obviously, we saw a lot of, and we talked about it, the issues with our secondary containing the explosive plays that the Giants were able to cook up and absolutely deliver on, especially with the one catch. Neighbors, he puts on a show no matter what. He's been doing it since college, but had that crazy touchdown catch, had 2 of them. But nonetheless, secondary got burned today. Defensive line was applying pressure, but just not enough for a pretty piss-poor offensive line that New York has, I would say. Miles was pretty much not even there. You might as well have not even played. Defense was probably the one shining point of today's game. Offense had their moments, but special teams, Hopkins was able to connect on his extra point, but that field goal from 50 plus wasn't good. Pushed it left. Obviously, it was close. It wasn't like it was too far off, but that's not something you're used to seeing out of D-Hop. He's usually pretty automatic for us. So definitely hoping he can improve on that and put him in better positions to actually make those kicks. I know they didn't put him out there too much even today or in general to kick field goals, but don't put him in those positions. When you are in range to kick a field goal and get those 3 points, it's not like, oh, well, 1 week, oh yeah, well, maybe these 3 points will matter, but maybe they didn't matter last week. No, 3 points matter every week, no matter where you're at. Take 100%. Your damn points, get on the board, and go and play defense, because at the end of the day, you're not going to win the game going for it on 4th down or putting your kicker out there to kick 50-plus field goals, no matter if he can do it or not. Don't do that. Put him in position to actually make it, a close game, and from there, you can just play sound football. They weren't playing sound football. They haven't been playing sound football. Last week in Jacksonville wasn't sound at all, no matter the win or lose. Like you said, head coach needs to do head coaching duties. I think he's getting and for someone who's been coaching these Browns for 4 or 5 years now, you would think that he would understand and be able to, be able to dissect the fact that, hey, maybe not all of this is so much on the player performance. Maybe a lot of this is on our coaching and the ways that we're going about things throughout the week, game planning, prepping each week for what our roles are and what kind of things we're going to be seeing in this game. Stop. Whatever you're doing, stop it and change it because it's not working, hasn't been working. We've seen it every year. The last 3 years, we start off slow and everyone's sitting here calling for Stefanski, saying, what are you going to do? What are we going to do now? Where are we going from here? And absolutely, you need to address those issues.
Yeah, I mean you do. You there's a lot of lingering problems with the team right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of glaring issues. If it's not penalties, it's turnovers. Turnovers ridded two of your very solid drives. I mean, it's you have a defense that feels like they play better when they're trying to protect their offense in the sense of if the offense just scores, the defense typically goes out and stops them to give them another opportunity to go out and make it a 10-point swing or a 14-point swing. The problem is that the Browns have not been able to capitalize. I mean, even on getting solid field position, they haven't been able to capitalize. And it feels like the Browns play three solid full round complete games every year, and then the rest of the games are just absolute fucking heartaches against teams that they shouldn't be. And the only good thing about this loss is that where you're in a point where the only problem is the Steelers need to come back to earth, which they will because they really haven't. The Chargers should have beat them had they had Herbert or even just a healthy Herbert in general, but they didn't, so they got a break. They will come back down to earth. But
The
for now,
difference is the Steelers are a well-coached team. Ravens, well-coached team. Bengals, not so much, but I think that they have a little bit more going for them than what we have. It's crazy to me the fact that
I
we have been able to put together the seasons that we have in recent memory with most of the coaching staff that we have and have retained. I know we lost Bill Callahan, Stump Mitchell, two offensive coaches that really made a difference. But what we brought in and what we've changed clearly hasn't made a difference. Clearly, it's still an issue to be addressed. Whoever the offensive line coach is needs to have a fire set under his ass because this is unacceptable. 3 weeks now, and this offensive line has played piss poor, and you've got three all pros on the line. DeJuan Jones, who was a diamond in the rough prospect that we found, and of course we have the uncertainty at left tackle there, but with Jed Wills coming back today, and I know Conklin's out another week, depending on what we do with him. Damn it, make something work because this is fucking ridiculous. I hate to say it
I
like that, but this is
no, it is.
it's so aggravating because you think that they'll start to turn the corner and they start to improve playing. You're like, okay, no, just take a step back because you know you're going to be wrong, and you know at the end of the day they're going to make these mistakes week after week. Until they don't, they're going to make these mistakes week after week. Don't even predict the score. Don't predict what's going to happen because it's not gonna. You know it's not going to happen. You know
I
your predictions and what you hope to happen isn't going to happen until we see something change and we actually see these guys play better.
I'm
It's
not.
ridiculous, man. I hate to be that brutal, but it's so aggravating because week after week after week, we sit here and I hate to say, the coach is on the couch, but as coaches on the couch, I feel like we see things that the coaches of the damn team don't even see. What are they not going back and watching film? Are they not going back and looking at what mistakes they made and working on them in practice?
No,
Because
they
it's
they definitely all right. Listen, they definitely do, and they definitely have fixed mistakes. I think
I don't know,
the
man.
prob no, listen, the problem with this game was all right. The problem with this game was that they fixed the problem of the holding situation, and they showed you exactly why we had the problem in the first place, which is the fact that our offensive line, as good as it has been and as top ranked as it has been in the last 5 years, it is not what it was. It is a decayed, just a desolate soul. The reason that the offensive line was so good and why the offensive linemen we had were so good is because they played together. Like they played together. They they were all healthy, and when they were all playing healthy together, they were all so good at their individual jobs. Right now, we haven't had a healthy offensive line in like 2
I don't want to
years.
hear that. I don't want to hear that, dude. You know it's not just the healthy O line. Look at what teams are doing with literal makeshift entire offensive
Yeah,
lineups.
but what do you want? Like at the end of the day, the reason that it was different between the first half and the second half was because Deshaun Watson wasn't in the pocket half the time.
Not even just today. I get that. Just not even today's game. We are seeing literal offensive linemen that aren't even ranked in the top 50. And there's how many teams? 32? 50. They're not even ranked, and they're out here playing much better. Not a single stat line against them saying
Well, it's
penalty,
also well
giving
no,
up sack, anything.
it's also because they have they played an entire all right, listen. When we look at the Browns and the sacks and the stuff that happens, 90% of the time it's because one of our offensive linemen misses or doesn't communicate an assignment with the player next to him, and he just lets him go because he doesn't pick him up.
Yep.
The problem, and that all comes from snaps and working with these guys every day in practice. The problem is that the Seahawks offensive line might be 10 times worse statistically than the Browns.
Panthers.
Listen, but when you play together for so long, you can at least become more formidable when you need to get to at least kind of because if I know one of our let's say we know our left guard on the Seahawks is trash, it's gonna be trash all year. They're gonna chip guys on that side. They're gonna have double teams with two linemen on that side. The problem is the Browns have so many people that come in and out and in and out, and they're playing off positions. They're trying to move fucking offensive linemen around. Now here comes fucking Hike. Now this dude who's used to playing on the right side has to flip everything he's used to doing in his head to the opposite side. Now he's trying to pick up, and they're just missing assignments. It's simple. Like they'll have a dude rush in the middle, and the two linemen are splitting this way, and the dude's just running down the middle because not one of the guards isn't saying, "Hey, if this guy blitzes, one of us has to fucking stay here and cook him."
How long has that interior offensive line been playing? Teller has been playing since 2017. Batonio's been playing since 2013.
Well, yeah, but
Post's been playing for 6 years now.
The one of them was out in the first quarter.
Teller, but
was
he's
out in the first quarter, and then
the other one,
and then the Batonio had to play fucking left guard.
Oh God.
The dude's not even a fucking guard. I mean, the guy is playing. He's not even. He's playing out.
Batonio's a left guard.
I meant he was playing left tackle.
Oh yeah, tackle. Yeah.
Bro's trying to stop fucking Thibodeau on the edge. Like poor guy's never done that shit before.
And
how
trust
many
me,
times in practice has that guy gone out there against Myles Garrett and tried to block him on the edge?
Trust
Probably
me,
zero.
I 100% understand what you're saying, and I totally agree. I'm not so much disagreeing. I'm just ranting about the fact that these guys, this is not a like puzzle piece offensive line. I understand there are injuries, and I understand guys are moving around and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's not even just the offensive line. It's the offense in general that it's like, what are you guys doing during the week that isn't preparing you for situations like this? You should be going through every scenario every week to prepare for it.
Do you want to know my hot take? It's not even a hot take anymore. I think it's facts.
What's your hot take?
It's not Kevin Stefanski's fault, and it's not Deshaun Watson's fault. It's them together's fault.
I agree.
All
I
right,
think
think
so.
about it like this. I need you, or we're gonna go back to the last year.
All right.
The Browns' offensive line was in the same situation last year, was it not?
Pretty
Basically,
much.
I mean,
Pretty
you
much.
basically were scrapping offensive linemen together every week.
Yep. Pretty much.
Now, why wasn't Joe Flacco getting sacked 6 times a game? There's one.
Don't.
There's one reason. There's one. It's so glaringly obvious, but there's one reason. There's one. It's because Joe Flacco, 85% of the time he threw the ball was not in the pocket. When I mean that, I mean designed. Joe Flacco, 90% of the time he threw the ball was play action rollouts. And why? Because there's an 85% less likely chance he's going to get sacked. Because they knew the offensive line sucked, so they rolled him out. Because fucking why are they going to keep him in the pocket knowing that he's going to have 2 seconds and he can't run? The difference is they sit here and they're like, oh, but we have Deshaun so he can run and evade. But the problem is when your offensive line sucks in 3 different spots, it's not just one guy running at him, it's 3 fucking guys. And the difference is that this year they're getting blitzed like crazy, and it's because they keep trying to do these long routes that take forever without giving him a short, quick out on a blitz. And he just
and not to mention, you're totally right. The deep passes, when they run these deep passes, and like you said, I mean, they're not doing these quick outs or these crosses or anything like that. When they're running one guy deep, they're running 2 or 3 guys deep.
Every time.
What are you doing?
No, and half the time it looks like 2 of them are just like trying to just be in the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I have one guy running a deep route,
literally,
and then I have
one guy
one
to target.
running back that's running for what would be a 1-yard gain. So you're
Literally.
telling me that I either have a deep route or I'm just throwing the ball out of bounds.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
But then that's the thing is that the public eye gets mad at Deshaun because they see that there was one play my dad specifically was yelling saying the tight end was wide open. Deshaun needs to get this ball to the tight end and they get a first down. And I look at it and A, he's right. He was open, but B, Deshaun was already in flight mode because he was literally getting pressured instantly. That when Deshaun Watson made a decision in the second half to stop trying to hold the ball to get that extra 0.5 seconds to make a throw, and he decided that he's way better off instantly just hike, boom, I'm getting pressured, I need to leave. And so basically when he made that decision, he basically was saying, I know that with me making this decision, I'm probably going to miss somebody wide open because now my receivers are finally hitting their brakes. But I have to get out so that I can even make a play happen because I'm not going to have enough time to sit in the pocket. And
right.
If the Browns go back to Joe Flacco, let's get the run game involved, and then let's just play action rollouts, play everything. All of that was the success to Joe Flacco, and it can be the success to Deshaun because A, it already gets him moving so that if push comes to shove, no one's open, he's already moving and he can run way easier. And B, it gets him out of the pocket so that A, the offensive line has more time. And if someone does get through or 2 people get through, they have to chase him halfway across the field and he has an extra 3 seconds to throw the football. So it's like they keep trying to box him in this pocket where he is then forced to make a quick decision and then he's missing receivers. And then comes the second half, he went on like a 0 for 5 streak in the beginning because he was just they were trying to get him to throw 15-yard passes and 20-yard passes. Like, let the dude throw a 5-yard fucking slant to Elijah Moore or to Amari Cooper or a 5-yard out to Jerry Jeudy or a little tight end screen or a dig and like when they did those, it was successful. And then they just never did them again. And you're just like, they were the Giants didn't blitz at all. They were one of the worst blitzing teams the first 2 weeks, and then they just shot at us, and we were not ready for it, and it took us 3 quarters to figure it out. So that's really what lost us the game. Like,
Yep.
it's
I agree.
that was it. Like, really, we scored in the first 11 seconds, and I thought it was over. I was like, oh, here we go. We're about to cakewalk these guys, and then we didn't score again until the second half, and I'm pretty sure it was the fourth quarter. So,
Oh
yeah,
man,
and
dude.
honestly, I'm good. I think that's all I had to say about it.
That's all I have to say until
They
Wednesday because
have to,
I'll
yeah,
have more to say Wednesday.
yeah. I'll have more to say, and honestly, my first takes right now, as it stands, this game's on Kevin Stefanski more than it's on anybody else. And obviously, you're the head coach; it kind of falls on you anyway. But
100%.
a lot of people would a lot. The first game was definitely a Deshaun Watson disaster class, and Kevin Stefanski was partially to blame. This game is way more Kevin Stefanski to blame, and Deshaun, really all the times he looked bad was just a product of Kevin Stefanski putting him in a really terrible spot to start the game. So, yeah, I mean, it just the play calling, it really just needs to get better all around. You play Vegas next week, so you hope that after they just got curb stomped by Carolina, that you pray that you can beat this team, but who knows?
I don't know, man.
I don't
I'm
know.
not
Yeah,
making
you're right.
any
I don't know. I
predictions.
don't think anybody does, but
No
I
predictions.
think that
'cause I
brings
don't
us
know.
on to our AL Central champion, Cleveland Guardians.
Let's go.
The
Let's go,
Cleveland
bro.
Guardians make the playoffs and win the AL Central for the second time in 3 years. Your Cleveland Guardos under first year head general manager Stephen Vogt are going to the playoffs once again.
The new skipper in town has these boys playing like it's
and
1997 again.
Yes, they lost yesterday, but they were still popping bottles of champagne.
They also lost today as well.
Oh, they also lost today too, but that doesn't fucking matter because the Royals suck, and we are the AL Central champions of the world.
Now, we lost 2 games yesterday and today. Yesterday we lost 6-5, not a bad loss.
Boo-hoo.
Today we lost 2-1, not a bad loss. It's okay. It's against the Cardinals. It's against an
You
NL
had Miles Straw in the game.
Right.
Miles Straw played, chat. Miles fucking Straw. When's the last time you heard him in a starting lineup for the Cleveland Guardians?
Right.
But you popping bottles, baby. They did it. They did it with a lot of help of the Kansas City Royals absolutely struggling. The Detroit Tigers are now officially in the playoffs. And the Twins are officially out of the playoffs.
I can't believe it.
That is how it is going today. The Tigers are on a miraculous comeback. The Twins and the Royals are on miraculous fallouts. And the Cleveland Guardians got on their surfboards on a nice, calm day. And they said, it's our turn. It's our time.
The Tigers are now 5th. I mean, they're 2 games ahead of the Royals. They're tied in losses, but actually, no, never mind. They're exactly tied. Tigers are still 5th. They're the 5th seed. So that's crazy to me to think that they went from the 8th seed all the way up to the 5th seed in a matter of a week and a half.
Yeah.
For a season that everyone was kind of writing off for the Tigers with their trades earlier in the summer and everything that was just going on. The Tigers have made an absolutely crazy run back up to the top of the American League. The top, I'd say top 7. But outside of that, like you look at the teams that have fallen out of the playoff race, you've got the Mariners, the Rays, the Twins, Red Sox, Rangers, Blue Jays. If you would have told me that the Tigers were going to make it over any of those teams, I would have laughed. I would have chuckled in your face. So yeah, Tigers. I don't want to harp too much on them because I don't like them. But the Tigers are currently number 2 right now in the Central, followed by the Royals and followed by the Twins. So definitely didn't see that coming. They went from fourth in the Central to second in the Central. Guardians have it locked up. Gardos, let's keep that
The
second
Tigers
seed.
had tiebreaker.
Huh?
The Tigers had tiebreaker
Yeah,
over
man.
the Royals, so they're
Yeah, man.
second right now.
Second.
Oh my gosh. I mean, listen, we said the lucky number was 90. The Guards have exactly 90 wins. They clinched the division at 90. That was the lucky number you needed to hit. They hit it. You're up. You're up. You're up, chat.
The Gardos, I don't know, man. I'm already looking at playoff tickets. Looking at playoff tickets.
I know. So am I. Trust me, bro. I mean, come on. I went to enough games this year. You'd think I have to splurge and get playoff tickets.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, I mean, get multiple? No, I'll probably. I might just have to find a group of people to go, and everybody just get a ticket. We all drive. You want to go? Let's go.
Yeah. Dude, we don't even necessarily have to drive. We could drive to the airport and take the RTA train downtown, dude.
We could.
Dude, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
No, yeah, we could. We definitely
Hit
should.
the casino.
We should get a couple. We should get a couple people, and we should go.
Absolutely. Hey, we can do our. We may be able to do our thingy thing down there too.
Oh yeah, we could. We could ball out down there. We should go. We should look into getting to a playoff game.
Absolutely.
I'm down to go.
Absolutely. Besides that, I mean, obviously the Gardos win the Central. They had their big celebration. They celebrated 3 nights ago. I think it was Friday night. Making the playoffs. And then they celebrated again last night.
Last night they celebrated again for winning the division. Obviously, weird celebrating after a tough loss, after a valiant almost comeback effort. But I mean, yeah, the team obviously, with help of the spiraling Royals, they get it done. The Royals could have given the Guards a little bit of a run for their money, but it seems that the Royals, just like I said and predicted, were going to start to fall off towards the end of the season. It seems that they fell off a little bit towards the end of the season, and yeah, I mean, they're hoping to kind of keep their playoff hopes alive, obviously, in the downstretch. The Guards can kind of kick their feet up and relax. Any win they get from now is just kind of a bonus.
Oh.
And yeah,
you got 5 games left, man.
The team gets much needed rest. I mean, today, obviously, Andres Jimenez didn't play. A couple different players are going to start to get some rest. Obviously, they get to kick back and relax and watch the ALCS or DS, the ALDS go on while they kick back and relax, waiting to.
Wild card.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We'll play in the DS. We'll play in the division series.
Yeah, we play in the DS. You're right.
Well, hey, man.
And they await their opponents. I mean, obviously, these wild card races, they get down because obviously, like, once again, the Twins not out of it. The Twins could snap in, start winning, and they could very well still be in it. So, obviously, we'll check back in with you guys again on when we have another show on Wednesday, and we'll re-break down what the wild card situation is looking like, because it very well could come down to the last game. And so, with that being said, I will point out that the Astros are 5 games behind the Guardians. There's 5 games left to play, and you play the Astros for 3 of them. The Guards just need to win 1 game, and they automatically will be at that 2nd seed. They are technically 3 games back from the Yankees, since the Yankees won these last 2 games. So you kind of give up on the 1st seed thing, but you need to win. You need to win 1 more game, or the Astros need to lose 1 game, and you officially will claim your 2nd seed, which is a bye. I just want
I
to
will
point that
say,
out that it's not impossible for the Guardians to be accidentally in the third spot
no man,
and
no man.
accidentally find themselves playing on Wild Card Weekend, which would not be good, not a fun time if you're a Guardians fan.
Um, the Mariners play in Houston the next 3 games until Wednesday, and then Houston comes to Cleveland.
And the Mariners are still
Yes.
fighting, right? Or are they like kind of cooked?
The Mariners currently are eighth seed. They are 80-76. So they, if the
No, they can
Royals,
win. They're
they
fighting.
absolutely
So
can.
so never mind. We should be good. There's no. I mean, the Astros should not sweep that series. You assume that Seattle's going to give them all they have. So
Well, and
okay.
I do want to take a quick look and see the Twins play. Let's see who they play tomorrow. I believe they play. So they're playing the Marlins in Minnesota, and then they host the Orioles to close their season out. So hopefully the Marlins can at least take a game or two from them. And the Royals, they lost today to the Giants. They are having an all-time collapse right now. The Royals play the Nationals in Washington and then go to Atlanta to play the Braves to wrap up their season. So
And Atlanta's fighting. Atlanta's fighting for playoffs right now.
they
So
are.
they're gonna. The Royals are. They go into a little bit of an easier series, and then their last series of the year is very very hard against an opponent that is fighting for their wild card chances as well. So yeah, I mean wild cards. Now that you added an extra team, and now that uh, every team plays each other, and there's a lot more even strength of schedules. Uh, the wild card becomes a way.
Oh wait,
The
what?
wild card becomes a way more interesting. Sorry, I had heard some weird noises through my headset.
You're good, man.
The wild card becomes way more interesting, especially down the stretch. I mean, there's a lot of teams are still in it. I mean, with 5 games left, there's a lot of different possibilities that could play out. Obviously, who would have thought we'd be sitting here with 5 games left and 4 of the teams in the Central all have playoff hopes?
Would have never guessed, man.
Yeah, I mean, nobody,
Honestly.
nobody. And who would have known the Guards would have been leading the pack, already sitting there with their feet up, clinching the division and the playoffs, while the other 3 are fending for their lives.
Trust me, man. I would have never, ever, ever guessed it. Never.
But yeah, man. I mean, I think Wednesday's show actually becomes an inspired show, as when we get to Wednesday, we get to kind of start breaking down the Browns versus Vegas in Vegas. I believe that's a 4 o'clock game.
425.
4:25 game. We can break that down, talk about what as we already talked about a little bit, but you'll get a little bit of a calmer version of what the Browns need to do to get the win, get themselves back on track, and at 500 so that they can go into Washington to play the Commanders. Because then after that, you're going into Philly and playing the Eagles, who just beat the raging, surging hot Saints today at 1 o'clock. So you're going to need all hands on deck. But with that being stated, I don't know if you have anything else left to add here, Dom. But if not, it's been a pleasure, brother, once again to talk about the Browns and the Guards. Obviously, not the results that we were looking for either the Guards or the Browns today. But the Guards as a whole, it was a successful weekend, and it has been a very successful season for our Gardos as they punch another ticket to October. It may not always look pretty, but this team always finds themselves playing October baseball when it matters most. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I'm pumped. And I'm glad to see some Cleveland October baseball, because that is probably the most electrifying atmosphere to be in at all times. Obviously, Dom, it's been a pleasure. We will talk about the endings of the wild card on Wednesday, obviously, as it wraps up teams fighting for their lives and their playoff hopes and dreams out here. And then we will also break down the Browns versus the Raiders on Sunday, 4:25 start time. Dom, it has been a pleasure. And chat,
Of
it has
course,
been
man.
a pleasure. Don't forget, like, subscribe. We love you guys. And we will see you guys on Wednesday for another show. You know it's going to be a doozy. We're going to talk more guards. We're going to talk more Browns. And weirdly enough and not talked about, NBA season is slowly about a month away.
About a month.
And nobody's talking about it really because the NBA offseason goes very unnoticed because of the NFL.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you can't, nothing like, that's what everybody wants to see. Football, and more football. But the NBA is on its slow approach, which means we get the privilege to talk about more Cavs basketball. And yeah, I mean, also, I did want to add the stat that for the first time, the Browns, the Guardians, and the Cavs all made the playoffs in the same calendar year. So, I guess as much as we want to sit here and complain about the Browns and do whatever we want, it's good to be a Cleveland fan. It'll always be great to be a Cleveland fan, but especially right now in these times, the Browns are going to get back on track. We know we know it's not going to end like this. So,
There's a flag.
oh, it was
Oh,
unnecessary roughness.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're good. It's a touchdown. We
It
love
better.
you guys. Go watch some Sunday Night Football. Enjoy the rest of your nights, just as we will. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Daily Dose Show. We love you guys. You guys are the best. You guys keep us going. Go
Absolutely.
Browns. Go Guardians. We will see you on Wednesday. Love y'all. Peace.